Hey guys! Alright, one microphone, two cameras. I think we got it figured out. Howdy, howdy. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Alright. Keep your little face in the... We're trying to fit on one camera.
Trying something new today.
We'll see how it goes. How's everybody doing? Happy, I don't even know what day of the week it is. Tuesday. It feels like it should be Thursday. Or maybe even Friday.
It's
Wednesday.
It Thursday?
Yeah, see, I don't even know. When you work from home, it just becomes a blur of days that end in Y, and occasionally you don't have to go to the other room and log in, so it's very confusing. But it is July 1st, so...
It is July 1st, already.
Yeah, I guess already is the better way to say it. Tonight, we wanted to do a special live stream. So I know we don't typically do these on Wednesday, but this game is actually ending on Kickstarter just within a couple of days. So we wanted to take an opportunity to at least show it to you, give you a chance to check it out. It kind of speaks to our roots from coming from a TCG, LCG,
right.
CCG kind of game. So if you've ever played those types of games, this would certainly be up your alley. This is called Myths at War. Do we have the... Where's the box? Did you leave the box in the other room?
Yes, I left the box.
The box is in the other room. It looks really cool. But I can't show it to you because it's in the other room. So Jim's going to make a run for it. Because the box is really cool. This game, like I said, is currently on Kickstarter so that they can actually create an English version of the game. So this was predominantly done in Spanish, I believe. And they have tournaments for it. They have world events for it. So if you're familiar with these types of games, you know that can be a very big community. Can be a very fun community. So... either camera's cool. Myths at War. What I like about this one, most of the time when I have played a TCG, LCG, CCG, collectible card game, living card game, trading card game, it's always been 1 versus 1. It's always been 2 players. This one actually plays 2 to 5, which I think is really cool, because a lot of, at least, so we came from a game called Star Wars Destiny that was produced by Fantasy Flight Games. And it tried to get a multiplayer format out there, and it did okay, but it was never the main setup of the game.
Well, I think with any of the card games that are like this, like Magic, like Star Wars Destiny, like Pokemon, they are at heart a 2-player game. Mm-hmm, it's one versus another, and most of the time, anything beyond that doesn't quite work out. I mean, Magic has something that they've worked on, like the Commander series or like Two-Headed Giants or anything like that, and those have worked out fairly well. But for the most part, these kind of collectible card games, living card games, they're almost always best at 2-player.
Sure. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of fun to that Battle Royale 1v1 kind of thing. Because I felt like at least whenever I did the multiplayer, it did often feel like everybody kind of ganged up on 1 or 2 people to kind of filter them out, and then it was, usually the last 2 surviving to battle it out. So.
Right. And so this is, I feel, is along the same lines where you can play it with more than 2 players as a multiplayer game, but it's at its best as a 2-player game.
That's cool. I can respect that one for sure. And I'm sure most of the tournament structures and stuff that you see are probably like that too.
Right.
So what I asked Jim to do, because like I said, this is still the prototype version of this. A lot of the cards and stuff and the artwork is already existing because, again, this game is already out there in the world being played, but primarily in Spanish. Is that correct?
And that's kind of the whole reason for this Kickstarter, is to get an English language version created. I believe we're looking at a prototype of a translated copy, or a translated version, I should say.
Yep.
And so, yeah, again, that Kickstarter that apparently they've already funded.
It is already funded.
Is to finalize an English language version and to get it to try to pick up some traction in America and other English-speaking
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah. So like you meant, so this is sort of it's a prototype, but it isn't, I guess, is the best way to say it. So of course, like any Kickstarter preview we share with you guys, anything can change between now and what you're looking at and the final product of a Kickstarter. That is just the nature of a Kickstarter. So and most of the time it just gets better from there. I know if you've watched other videos about this game or read up anything on it, I know we're hoping to see some improvements to the rule book, because it's just right now it's just a translation from Spanish to English. So depending upon who we work with, I fully anticipate seeing that get some love and get some attention and get just a few of the details ironed out. But essentially, this game is you are playing as different, like, civilizations. Is that the best? Well, I mean, some of them, they're mythical kind of civilizations.
Different mythologies more than civilizations.
Which hence myths at war.
So this is Myths at War. This box is called The End of the Age of Men. And it comes with 3 different mythologies in here. It's got Egyptian, Norse, and Japanese.
Cool.
And it's like the box says, it's very rooted in the myths. So the Egyptian side is going to have you summoning gods like Horus and Set and Seth and Ra and all of them.
Okay.
Norse, it's going to be Odin, Thor, Heimdall.
Thanks, Marvel, for making us familiar with some of those.
Right. And the Japanese, a lot of you're going to deal with like the Tengu demons.
Okay.
Things like that.
Okay.
And it seems to be very well researched as far as the actual abilities and powers of those cards based on what they could actually do in their myths.
Okay. Cool. So what I have asked Jim to do, and we're going to switch the cameras here on you just a second, is kind of so you guys can get a feel for it. Will kind of be as if he's sort of teaching me the game. So we're not going to play through any hands. I think it may be more beneficial for you to have an opportunity to just see it explained and see how it works. And my cohort has abandoned me, and I'm not really sure where he's going, so I'm just going to keep talking about stuff. Oh, the power cubes. Yeah, that is an important piece. He just wanders off and disappears, and I don't know what's going on. Hey, man, that's the fun of a live stream, right? So you get a little glimpse into what the Breeze life is like when we're not doing stuff. So let me go ahead. Like, I know you can kind of see down here on the bottom. We'll make sure to, when you get a closer, really when we're kind of zoomed in on the cards a little bit more, I want to make sure you have an opportunity to see the artwork, to see the cards. So we're going to talk through kind of, like I said, just a high-level overview of how this game's going to play, sort of explaining it to you as if you were getting ready, maybe doing a demo at a convention or something like that. And then we'll take a few minutes at the end to kind of show you some closer-up images, if we can, of what those components look like. Again, this is a Kickstarter. These could change, but just so you have an idea of what each things are. So give me just a second with technology here. Sometimes it is the bane of my existence, and we will flip over to woohoo!
All right, so what we have here is the starting setup.
Hang on, keep talking. I'm gonna move this logo out of your way.
I can move it up. It's
okay,
no problem.
yeah, well, I can move it here.
All right, so this is basic setup for one player's side of the board.
Yeah.
Your opponent would have something very similar.
Very similar, to this. Sure.
And what we have here is this card is called the Pantheon. This kind of sets up what your mythology is going to be. This is just kind of a very basic, thrown together, real quick Japanese deck. So this is Yomi. It has its own abilities which can come into play during the game, and it also tells you how many power pool points you start with.
Okay, and those are what these little cubes are.
That's what these
correct?
little cubes are. Now the game comes with cubes in 2 different colors. As far as I can tell, there's no difference between the 2. We've seen people use like 1 color per player just to kind of keep things differentiated. I'm using yellow because the other ones are red, and it'll be really hard to see on this table.
We love this mat, but it has its challenges, so...
So we're just setting that up. These brown-backed cards are what's called your oracles.
Okay.
There are 20 of these cards, and this is a deck building... not a deck building game. This is a constructed deck game where you have a large pool of cards that come with the game, and you put them together how you like.
Okay.
So you need 20 of these cards, and they're separated into four equal piles. This is your.
Can I ask a question? Can I pause and ask a question about these brown cards? Because
Yes.
if I'm thinking it, maybe they're thinking it too. So when you talk about the constructed deck, are there any cards that are specific to?
Yes.
Like so I can only include those in Japanese decks.
Yes.
Or okay.
It's outlined in the rules.
Okay.
The any card that specifies a pantheon like that, like Egyptian or Japanese or Norse, those can only be included in a deck of that type. So I couldn't have any cards. This is technically called the Gods deck.
Okay.
And this is the Designs deck, the blue-backed cards. Nothing in there can include a card that has a keyword Norse
That
or
seems
Egyptian,
fair. Okay.
since this is a Japanese deck. So 20 cards in the Gods deck, divided into 4 equal piles. These are going to be called the Oracles.
So 5 cards each for those of you
Exactly.
good at math at home.
And then what's called a Designs deck, which is 30 cards.
Okay.
And that's got the same limitations as to what can be included based on the keywords.
But you're at least going to have, and then depending upon how this game grows, you could potentially be building different decks.
Right.
Maybe not as big as what you see in like a CCG, because this seems to be a very limited card pool.
Right. Yeah. I did a quick look through the cards, and it looks like for each of the different mythologies, there are enough cards in there to build 2 decks for each.
Interesting. Okay, so you potentially could have the same.
Right.
You could fight it.
Yeah, but so yeah, each, because like just a quick glance through, there were 2 different pantheon cards for each
Okay.
mythology. And like I said, you've got your power cubes here. These are given to you based on whichever location card you select. These are also used to pay for cards out of the oracles here.
Okay.
And we'll get into that a little bit later on in the game. It's in the game proper. Interesting thing about this one is that from a central pool of cubes, the way that the first player is determined is that each player will secretly take 1 to 4 of these cubes. Again, I'll just use the yellow ones because they're going to be a little bit easier to see.
Yeah.
You can secretly take 1 to 4 of these, and everybody just puts them out in their hands, and then reveals them at the same time. These are going to be added to your opponent's life total. And the person who offered the most gets to choose who gets to be first player.
Interesting.
So
okay.
a little bit of strategy there.
Bit, yeah, absolutely. Well, and like you said, it's coming from the community pool, so the goal of this game is to have how many life points?
The goal of the game is to either end a round with at least 30 power points.
Okay.
or
30. Okay. And you start with how many?
That depends on the location card.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
this one starts with 20. Most of the other ones start with like 19 or 18.
Okay.
So a little bit of difference there, but it's basically wagering on, I want to be able to pick the first player. I want to be the first player, or I want to be able to choose the first player.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a bit of an advantage so that I can have that advantage.
Right. So for that, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So for that, there's a consequence of now you are giving extra life cubes to your opponent, getting them closer to that total. Now, granted, like as I've watched Jim play, as we've talked through the game and watched other playthroughs of the game, you're gonna spend those like pretty quick. So you're just basically giving them better opportunities, maybe, to be able to place or pay for cards. But maybe, and I don't know that we found whether in our exploration of it, I don't know if there's a heavily weighted sort of, I don't know, benefit to being the one that goes first.
That can be.
I know in a lot of games like this, it helps to be the one like starting out with the initiative of it, because then you're kind of leading the charge.
Now, once you've determined, the first player, everybody draws a hand of 5 cards from their blue-backed design deck.
Okay.
And these are additional cards that can be played on your turn. Each one will say on it, whether it's during the confrontation phase or the influence phase. And then again, that's something we'll go into in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then what you do is each of these Oracle decks that doesn't have a face-up card on it gets the top one turned up.
And they all have flavor text, and they kind of explain
Right.
what each card does.
They
So
all
if you're
have-
familiar with Magic or Pokemon or any of that kind of thing, these seem to be designed very similar to those.
Right.
Okay.
And these are what you're going to be spending your power cubes on to try to get them into play. Let me move this out of the way since that's not going to really be doing anything right now. And this is called the transfer phase.
Okay.
The way this works is that the first player, and for right now we'll just assume that's me. We'll just use this chocolate coin to show that I'm the first player.
See, I told you, you never know what you might find on this game table.
First player can transfer one power cube to any one face-up card in their Oracle. Before we do that, we do have one event card that popped up.
And those are played immediately,
These are
right?
these are resolved immediately, and this one is called Shogatsu, which is a festival to gain one power on each of the characters in play. I don't have any characters in play, so this one just is discarded. But on any of these other cards, I can play one power cube.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and do that on here. And that is my turn in that transfer phase. The second player would be able to take 2 cubes and transfer those onto any one of their cards.
Okay.
The other things you can do in the transfer phase is move cubes from one oracle card to another, or
So if you need to build up some and you need that one last one, you could. Now,
Right.
can you place and transfer at the same time?
no, that's a
One or the
transfer
other.
is
Okay.
Is a move of power tokens, either 2 from your power pool or from your power pool to a card, from one card to another, or from one of these cards back into your power pool.
Okay.
So which can come in handy if you've got some on one of the cards that's a little more expensive, but you need something right now.
Right.
So you
that
just
makes
kind of
sense.
move it back.
Yep.
And especially later in the game, because there aren't a lot of ways to get more power tokens back into your personal pool.
Okay.
And then second player plays 2. And then if the cost is met on any of these cards, which is in the lower left corner, it's like, say, for instance, I was able to play 2 on this fisherman. He would get moved up into what's called the Pantheon area.
Okay. Interesting.
This is what's called a resource. So resources, any power cubes on it would get removed and placed into the common pool, and then it's just there as as something you can use later on in the game. This one specifically is during the influence phase. Now, if we were able to get, like, say, 4 tokens on one of these cards, because it's got a power of 4, that would move that up, and these stay on here. That becomes that character's power pool.
Okay. So kind of their health. They're basically their health.
It's not necessarily their health.
Okay.
It's more of their ability to do things.
Okay.
And again, that's something that's going to come out later in the game. And so back to the transfer phase. It's you can transfer once per round, and then the first player, the first round transfers 1, second player transfers 2, and then we'll take the rest of the turns, which is what's called the influence phase, which is any cards that were able to be played that have an influence
like
keyword
the
on here.
keyword.
Like
Okay.
like this fisherman. Let me bring this up here.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can
That makes
see
sense.
this one allows me to tire this card, which in this game means to turn it sideways.
Okay.
You might know if you're playing.
You've heard it as exhaust.
You've heard it as exhaust, which is one of my complaints about this. I don't know if it's just a translation thing. A lot of card games have used exhaust to mean turning it to the side.
Mm-hmm.
This game, a card is exhausted, a character is exhausted, if it doesn't have any power tokens on it. So
okay. That is a little bit different. If you've played a lot of these before,
Right.
it could be some confusing terminology.
Right. So
Fair enough.
So to tire a card is to turn it sideways to show that it's been used. And this one is you can tire this to remove one power token from your opponent's reserve. So basically, it just lowers their life total by 1.
Okay.
And you take 1 influence action, your opponent takes 1, you take 1, your opponent takes 1. You can pass, and then if your opponent takes another influence action, you can jump right back in.
Oh, okay. Is it until both players pass?
Once both players pass consecutively, that part of the round is over, and then we go into the confrontation phase.
Ooh.
Where this is where this is where the bulk of the fighting is going to take place. So then what you would do is you can choose one of your ready characters, which is something that hasn't been tired. Remove a power token from it and place it back into the common pool.
Common pool, not your pool. Okay.
And then just kind of move it forward a little bit to show that it's going to be taking part in this battle. It's going to moving forward into what's called the battlefield area.
Nice. Okay.
And then your opponent can assign one of their characters or creatures or gods, whichever, into the battlefield. And again, you can choose one of yours to move up from the Pantheon region into the battlefield and back and forth. The only difference is if you pass, you're done with assigning. You can't jump back in.
Okay. So it's different than where it is in the Pantheon.
A little bit different.
Okay. So there's a lot of different things. I mean, I think this one is... There's clearly more going on than maybe if you've played Magic the Gathering. Like, there's more steps to get to that battle phase necessarily.
Right. It's a little bit more deliberate, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Once everybody's assigned everything that they want to and both players have passed on that, then we come to the confrontation step, where any creatures that are in the battlefield, if they have a confrontation ability, or if you have a card in your hand that has a confrontation ability, like say this one's just in my hand, I can play this during this step at a cost of 0.
Okay, so is the cost always in the bottom left?
Cost is always in the bottom left.
Okay.
And this particular one wouldn't really work well in this instance because it says to gain 2 power on your god. My character out isn't a god. It'll say the word god on there. But then you could play those cards, use the confrontation abilities on characters that are in the battlefield, and so on. And then there's the resolution. The resolution is just counting up the strength of each character, which is in the upper left corner here. For this one, it is a 2.
Okay.
And then each player would count up the strengths of everything on their side. Of everything on their board, okay. Yeah, and then compare the two. Whoever is the highest is the winner. And how much they win by is how much power is taken from the opponent's pool. Oh, so it would come from my pool that's over here? Not necessarily... Right. Oh, boy. Yeah, you're not... And it goes into my pool... Like, if I'm taking from somebody else, I would add it to my pool? No, you don't add it to yours. It's just removed from game. Ay, ay, ay. It's hard to get stuff in your pool. It is hard to get things in your pool. Now, and you have to get up to 30, right? You have to get up to 30. Ay, ay, ay. I would imagine, unless you construct your deck specifically to do that, it won't happen a lot. One of the other things that you can play on your turn is equipment. Some of them are going to, let's see, like this one here, Silver Spear. It costs 2, but it'll increase the character's strength by 1, and a lot of them can increase or decrease their maximum power. This one doesn't do that. And what that means is that, so if I wanted to equip this on him, if he was still down here in the Pantheon. So you have to do that step when they're in the Pantheon? Right. So I can pay 2 from the character I want to put that equipment on to add that to it. And now he's at a strength of 3. He's got to buy his own gear. He has to buy his own gear. Gosh, it's just like D&D. Okay. And oh yeah, I might have missed it before. That number in the top right, in this case it's 4, is the maximum number of power tokens that character can have.
Oh, okay.
Some of the equipment will actually lower that, or like I said, increase it.
Yeah.
Or add it.
Okay.
So this one, the Yada no Kagami.
I'm glad you're the one reading these cards.
This is one of those equipments.
Rolls right off the
can only be, like this one in particular can only be equipped on a god or goddess. Doesn't add to his combat strength, but it does increase his maximum power by 2. There are a lot more cards in here that I've seen that will add power tokens to creatures. Then there are cards that add power tokens back into your personal pool.
Oh, okay. Which is what you're really trying to do.
Right. So like say this one. So this one has power of 3, or strength of 3. He's in the battlefield. He's attacking. Say my opponent had a creature that only had a power of 1.
Okay.
So at the end of that phase, you deal 2 damage to the opponent. They would just remove 2 power tokens from their personal pool, and then at the end of that round, creatures move back into the Pantheon. Anything that has been tired is reset. And let me double check here.
Always keep your rules handy.
If for some reason any of the characters have more power tokens on them than their max, which can happen, you can exceed their maximum, but it's reset at the end of the round.
So then you'd lose those.
So I could play cards to like place 6 power tokens on this character if I wanted to, but if I don't do anything with them, that extra 2 are lost at the end of the round.
Oh, okay. So you need to really kind of plan when you're going to play a card like that, or else you could be just throwing your life away, for lack of a better.
And then each player would draw another card from the designs deck. And
that is I've just completely blanked on the name of that upkeep. Is that your upkeep phase?
Well, it's called the reorganization phase.
Okay.
And then pass the first player token to the other player.
Or whoever's, I think it's left. So if you're playing with more than 2, then it would just be.
Then it would just be to the they pass over to the left. In a 2-player game, just to the other player.
This would be intense. I think I would want to start with 2 before I worked my way up to 5.
Right. And then at the end of the reorganization phase, that's when you would check your power pool total, and if you're at 30 or greater, you're considered the ultimate god, and you win.
Ultimate god. That's really fun to say.
Or you can, like we were saying before, you can also win by forcing another player to have 0 in their power pool.
Which I almost feels like that is more likely to happen.
That I believe that would be, because there's a lot more that would going on in these cards that will increase strength, add power to the characters themselves so that they can afford better equipment.
Okay. So
that they can increase their strength, increase the strength of like ally cards.
Sure. I would. So when we played Star Wars Destiny, the thing that I struggled with the most was resource management,
right? Which
is exactly what I feel like this would be.
Well, and
it's not so, and I don't get 2 new wins each round like what you did. But I guess that feels thematic. If I'm wearing down my opponent to 0,
yes,
that seems like a better. I mean, being able to say you're the ultimate god's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
but I feel like getting there's really hard. I guess. And it would be hard to be an ultimate god.
And then once the first round is done, second round begins. So everybody flips over.
Anything that isn't. So this guy would just stay put.
He would stay where he is, yes. And then.
Ooh, demons and that's another.
And this was another one. This is the same one that came up the first round. This one will actually do something because this is resolved immediately. It says gain 1 power on each of your characters in play. So.
Ooh, and that comes from the community pool.
That comes from the community pool, yes.
Yay for the festival. This looks like a picture from Disney World. Okay. I'm just saying, but it looks like... All right, people. Disney people, tell me that doesn't look like a shot from Epcot. I mean, I know that's completely unboard game related, but...
Well...
I miss Disney right
Yeah, that totally could be.
I was like, I know right where I would be standing in Epcot.
It totally looks like it could be a shot from at Epcot, looking over the lake through that.
There should be a little globe. Look, there's even right back there. It looks like Spaceship Earth, and we've gone totally off
the rails. Now then we begin the transfer phase again. Only this time, the first player, since this is the second round, would be able to move 3 power tokens.
Whoa!
And once it becomes my turn, I'd be able to move 4.
I don't know that I'd want to.
That's the tricky part.
Is it you can move up to that many, or you have to move that many? Is that not super clear? Do we not know that from the rules stuff yet? But because I feel like I don't have enough. After one round, I don't know that I'd have a lot out there to do yet.
That may be one of the translation issues that could be addressed in this Kickstarter, because the instructions aren't really clear if it's up to or you have to do.
Okay.
And so then you would do the same thing there. You could transfer up to, I'm going to say up to 4.
I don't have places. Oh, I guess you could put 2
card,
there. Oh, I could still put it down here. I forgot about that.
Move that up.
But there's a demon here. Oh, that's a demon too.
Right. And then we'll go ahead and go through another.
That one needs to be slightly covered up.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Side boob. Okay.
Then you go through the influence phase again, and then confrontation, and then the next round, when you're doing the transfer phase, each player would be able to transfer up to 5 tokens, and that's the maximum that can be transferred. And
I get it, because by then, if you don't have stuff cleared out of here, you probably would have. Now, do I only have 4 spaces here in my Pantheon? Sorry.
As far as I know, you can have as many cards up in there as you can basically afford to bring out.
Like when Ken plays Keyforge and he goes all the way across the table.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And then you can send as many as that you can afford to pay for into battle, essentially.
Right, yeah.
With the risk of...
As long as each one of these has at least 1 power token to pay to go to the battlefield, they can go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're considered exhausted and they can't pay to
And
go.
you said that they're tired if they don't... You mentioned that they don't have any cubes on them.
Well, they're considered exhausted if they don't have
that's
any
right.
cubes.
Okay.
Right.
It's a different terminology in these games, so it takes a second if you've played other games like this to go, wait, this means this. Like, exhausted means a little bit different in this game than what it does in other CCG, at least that we're familiar with.
And again, that's probably just a translation issue.
It could be. It depends on how the...
And then play goes back and forth like that until, again, like we mentioned, one player is either at 30 power or
Ultimate
0.
Power.
And that is...
I feel like getting down to 0 would almost be like getting milled.
That is...
I hate to be milled.
Well...
But that's kind of what... I mean, it's taking away your...
Yeah. And that is Myths at War.
So, interesting. And I could see this. I mean, like I said, the communities of TCGs and CCGs, like, they have really great followings. They're really fun communities to be involved in because it's fun to sit down and play these types of events in a tournament setting and things like that.
Right.
Especially when you are building... You have the ability to build different decks to an extent because there's a limited card pool with this.
Right.
Now, how long? I don't know if does it indicate about how long?
It says games roughly 20 minutes, and I can see that. This is a very fast-paced game. You're blowing through your own life pool.
I blow through my life pool in like 2 rounds.
Right. In order to get things out there. So it's not like you have to deal 20 damage to someone to win the game. You could end up only dealing 10 damage.
You just need them to be really bad at resource management, like me.
And that's the big thing.
Ooh, you would kick my patootie in this.
Some of these cards, especially some of the more powerful gods, they are not cheap. Like we've got one here that costs 6. But she's got a maximum power pool of 8. So she's going to enter the game with at least 6.
Yeah.
She's got a strength of 3, but she's also got, her confrontation ability is she can pay 1 power from herself and move an enemy character back into its pantheon.
Oh, heavens.
So
is that only just a one time where I can play however many powers off of myself and move that many characters back? Is that maybe a 1? To me, that sounds like you can do it once.
Once per action.
Once per action.
So that's pretty good, because then if that player wants that character back in the battle,
Yeah, if
that
something
character has to pay another power to get back in.
That's a way to really kind of move down that path. Well, and to get something, because it doesn't say they have to have a lesser power than her. So if your opponent has someone as strong, or maybe even stronger, you can be like, nah, just put that back.
Or they've got a bunch of really nice equipment on them, and you just don't want to deal with them this round.
Nope.
Right.
Interesting. I dig that. So you said this is the Japanese. I want to make sure we take an opportunity to look through at least some of the cards.
I don't want to say this is the Japanese deck. This is a Japanese
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of said it the wrong way. And you may notice, like, I know it kind of caught my attention that the artwork on all these cards, they have different artists. So it's not all artwork done by one person. It is very different styles. I mean, I'm looking at this one specifically.
Well, these three right here kind of spell it out for you.
Yeah, three very different styles.
Like almost anime style comic art.
Yep.
And then you've got this one, which is just very, very cartoonish.
Yep. I don't know any other way to say.
Yeah. And then you've got.
But it's not bad. I like it. Like, I like the art.
It's just all different styles, and this one is very, almost photorealistic.
Yeah.
But it's more watercolory.
Yeah, I like that one too.
And then just different artists throughout.
Cool.
Some of it could.
This one's wild. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. Some of them can be a little bit bland. Like some of these cards, we haven't gone into all of the different card types.
Well, they can't all be flashy.
Right. This is a rune that can be played. And it's a picture of a rock with a rune engraved on it.
I mean, I don't know what else you want for a rune.
Right. It gets the point across.
I'm like, I don't really know what other... I mean, to me, that's...
You know what it is when you look at it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the art is good. It's really good. You may like some of the styles more than others.
I don't know how well you guys can see some of these. You may.
Well, here,
Firestorm. That one's really cool.
Yeah, so you got some...
Well, and then just looking at this and that. Destroy an Exhausted Mortal. Now, that's a fun, wonderful card to play from your hand.
Go.
And like you said, it's a zero cost. So somebody wears somebody out. They're out of stuff. Bye-bye.
Right. And I think that would pair up pretty well with... where was that one we were looking at?
The Warrior and the Butterfly. Yeah. These are really cool. Like, it's nice to take... We probably ought to take a few pictures of these and post them up on the page, let people get a closer look at some of just at what some of the powers are. There's a great little flavor text on them.
Right.
Drink a little and you'll have the power of a god for the rest of your life. I've been doing it all wrong. Norse armor. What? I thought you couldn't have. Did that one sneak in here?
That might have snuck
We'll pretend
in
that's
there.
not there.
Right.
So, and there are. So, is there any limit? Because I just now saw that we have two of this: the Warrior and the Butterfly. Is there any limitation to how many copies? Because I know you said there's enough to do like 2 decks.
Right, you can have 2 copies of any card in here.
Okay, that seems familiar to other...
Unless it says unique. Okay, I go back. I don't know how that got that. So this
is definitely either a Thor's kind of hammer kind of thing. But that's okay. It lets us show off some of the other...
But yeah, okay. So we
stacked it there on purpose.
So this is Mjolnir. Anybody who's a Marvel fan will know that name. But yeah, as you can see, this is Norse, so it can really only be included in a Norse-themed deck.
You built an illegal deck. You're disqualified. Out.
And you can also see the word unique there.
Okay. So you can only have one.
So you can only have one in your deck.
That seems familiar.
And it's the same thing with the characters. Like we'll go back to this one. This one says that this one has the keyword goddess. Any character card with the word god or goddess is also considered unique.
That seems fair.
So you can only include one in your deck.
Unless you have twin gods, you're not going to have 2 of those, so it makes sense. And they're going to make them extra powerful, so it seems like it would be way overpowerful to have more than one of them in your deck.
Right.
That's fair. I can live with that. I keep checking to see if anybody's got any questions overall about the game.
These cubes, the cubes are a nice touch. Most of the time with games like this,
yeah, these are nice little...
You have to provide your own counters.
Or they're little cardboard shits that end up all over your house, and your dogs eat them, because we know nothing about that.
I mean, these are okay.
You know, I will say, I mean, because we know this from other CC, at least from, like, Star Wars Destiny was huge with this. You had certain counters, resources, damage tokens, stuff like that, and there was this huge, you know, secondary market stuff.
Right.
That people made themselves. So, should this game take off, that could be something that you would see, because it, you know, some other...
Maybe. I don't know about...
Who knows? It just depends on how popular the game gets.
And since these are just kind of...
These are nicer
counters,
than cardboard chits, though.
They are.
I mean, Keyforge, even with Keyforge, those became... People found other cool things to use.
And you don't
it's
have
fun to
to
bling
use
out your
these.
game.
You can use any kind of tokens you'd like. I know a lot of people like the little round glass ones.
Mm-hmm.
You can use those little plastic crystals that I see popping up in a lot of other games.
Yeah, we have no room to talk about pimping out games because
No.
we pimp out a lot of our games.
Well,
So I love
like metal
fun
coins.
aftermarket things, metal coins, anything like that. It was really, really fun to add to a game.
You want to switch us back?
No, because I wasn't prepared to do that. I was not. So talk to the people, Jimbo, because I was not prepared to switch us back.
So the way that this game plays out, especially with you taking on the role of like an elder god and basically getting these other gods, other characters into your army to fight for you. I don't know how this is probably going to date me.
Who's
but
dating you? You're married. You can't be dating. I mean,
it reminds me a lot of Vampire: The Eternal Struggle.
oh, you mentioned this, and I am younger than you and have no idea what you're talking about.
So, for those of you who don't know, Vampire: The Eternal Struggle is another collectible card game. Came out
here's where he ages
more than
himself.
20 years ago. But it was a
You
deck.
played that one safe, mister.
It was a Deckmaster game, so it was made by the same people that did Magic: The Gathering, and I think it was their second big game right after Magic. But you played as an elder vampire.
Okay.
And your deck was made up of similar to this. There were two different decks. One deck had like all of your vampires that you could influence and hire on, and the other deck was all of your event cards, equipment cards, things like that you would play during the course of the game.
Okay.
But it was very similar to this in that you had your own pool of they called it blood, but you used that to pay for these other vampires to bring them onto your
seems
side.
very similar,
It is very
yeah.
similar, and it even had a very similar mechanic in that a lot of the cards that you could play from your hand had to be paid by the character you were playing them on.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it's
okay.
very similar to that.
So yeah, that's very, very I see what you're saying.
So that it kind of took me back because I was big into that game. Like I was saying, over 20 years ago.
You are aging yourself.
Yes, I am aging myself.
So let me see. I mean, I know we've switched cameras a little bit, but I'm just curious. Like, I don't know if we want to show any more of the various cards. If you guys want to see some images, drop a comment here or there, and we will get some more of them posted up on the site before I need to send this copy back to the publisher.
There are a lot of different. So, like, you've got.
Oh, I was like, who are you pointing that to? I'm pulling up the Kickstarter information just so I can give you guys a little bit more details. It has 44 hours to go, so we're down to, if you search for Myths at War, you're going to find it on there. That particular, it is from, I don't want to
Francisco Gallego Arredondo.
I don't want to mispronounce your name.
I hope I got that right.
Like I said, 213 backers so far, so that's a good start to a community. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at the. Sorry, guys, I probably should have this. And the Kickstarter is it's got a lot of information. It explains what each, as we kind of give you quick overviews of the cards. It's going to show you the strength,
PM. That's power maximum.
power maximum, keywords, ability cost. There is a copy of the rulebook out there. Again, we're telling you now that as a translated version. I wouldn't get super panicky about it yet because this is a Kickstarter. They have time to go in and make updates to it as needed.
Right.
I mean, that happens all the time with Kickstarter, so I wouldn't sweat it. There's some other great reviews and plays on here. Okay, so I was gonna say I don't think there's a ton of stretch goals. I think it's just a couple of back to some other boxes of, and maybe some more languages.
Right.
But I mean, it shows like this game has clearly been a hit in Spanish. So there are, I mean, it looks like there are tons of.
And kudos to them for trying to branch out too.
Yeah. So you're looking at. Well, those are sleeves. If you already have, so there was originally a 2005 edition. You can get the new set. I'm guessing that most of you probably do not have that. So if you're just getting the end of the age of men, I'll say it correctly. You're looking at about $33 US, with an estimated delivery of November. So not that far off.
No.
When you think about it in quarantine days. You can also do a shop or a game club pack, so you can get 6 copies of the game. So if you want to go in with somebody else, save yourself on some shipping. And they have another large collector's pack. So you're looking most likely around $33. I did not see the shipping costs. These do ship worldwide, so English speaking anywhere. There you go. You can find out more details or back this game if you would like it over on Kickstarter. Like I said, 44 hours to go, so you got a little time. You can watch a few other reviews. Maybe we didn't cover everything. Maybe there's more you want to see. They're out there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
They're on the Kickstarter. I would probably go with some of the ones that are on the Kickstarter. If you look around on YouTube, some of them are older. And I don't know what exactly changes may have been made between now and May. I think it was 2015 is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I think
so. Let me double check. I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions from anyone before we sign off for the night. Other than Ken wanting to know where the rewind button is, you just go back to the beginning, Ken, and tell it to play, and or come hang out with us at 8. Let's see what's next. Ooh, tomorrow night. So this has been a week of streams, and we have had a jolly good time getting to come hang out with you guys in the evening, albeit with a few small minor technical difficulties. My apologies for losing audio last night. You learn something new every time you stream. I will share the pictures from Bezier that cut out the audio on our Facebook page. And one of the things that he mentioned that I think might have gotten lost on the stream was that they have this thing called the Wolf Pack now. So this is Bezier Games that we spoke with Matt Ryan last night. Bezier Games has this really cool club that is like $5 a year that allows you priority shipping when you pre-order something.
Oh, nice.
So they have, we showcase several games of theirs. There's a new silver coin that's available now. There is Whistle Mountain, which I thought was an expansion to Whistle Stop. It's not. It's a completely whole new game from Scott Caputo that looks amazing. The components look outstanding. Those are releasing very, very soon. And then there's a very cool tile-laying game whose names I'm going to say incorrectly. Marvel? I'm going to say it wrong. I'll get it all posted on the Facebook page. Tomorrow night, we'll be right back here, same bat time, same bat channel, to do, can you grab the box? To do a live stream playthrough of a really cool roll and write, because I almost said it wrong, called Roar and Write from Galactic Raptor Games. That's the coolest name for a publishing company, and I love that it's a little raptor with short arms. But Carla's super cool. This is her game that she designed. If you'd ever played Animal Kingdoms, this is based in that same universe, so a lot of the artwork is the same. The artwork is gorgeous in this game. But if you ever played Yahtzee, you can play Roar and Write. It's essentially the same thought process to it. You're doing a lot of the same things. 5 of a kind, but it definitely has a little more depth to it than Yahtzee.
Right.
It is simple enough that you could absolutely take it to a family gathering and play it, or you can up the ante a little bit and change the difficulty level, which is an option within the game, and play it with friends that are, you've done roll and write, you're familiar with the concept. You can make it a little harder on yourself. It's got a solo variant as well. So I have to figure out how to get an image of the sheet on Facebook for you so you can play along with us tomorrow. So we're going to work on figuring that out. And we'll be here at 8 p.m. to stream for you and hang out. So please drop by, say hi, come play a game with us. We'd love it. And we're going to keep doing these as people want to come hang out with us. So we have more scheduled for next week, so stay tuned. thank you guys as always for coming on this fun little journey. We love sharing games with you. Hope you guys like hanging out with us too. So we'll see you next time.